Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Lemon and Soap Project, episode 2. I'm here with my co-host and my pal, Colin. Say hi.
What's up?
All right, so this episode's a little bit later than I wanted to do it. I wanted to do Wednesday, but then everything just kind of got pushed back. That's okay, as long as it's within the same week. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Today, it's going to be a little bit more structured. We're going to talk a little bit more about conspiracy theories. Now, it's not going to be entirely structured because obviously no one likes entirely structured things. But we're going to have Colin, who... Would you consider yourself a conspiracy theorist, Colin?
I would consider myself somewhat of a conspiracy theorist. Wouldn't say I believe in everything that I've heard.
Yeah.
You can only ever take something with a grain of salt. I try not to get too deep into things that are like super political. Like it's fun to think about like the JFK assassination, but generally I just take everything at face value, and until proven otherwise, it's there. I could believe it, I could not believe it. It doesn't really matter to me. What are your stances on conspiracy theory?
I personally really I find them to be fun to engage in every once in a while, but to a degree. I don't like over analyzing them, because you just find yourself into this rabbit hole of, oh my god, what if this is true, what if this is true, and then they get paranoid, and then you're like, well, this isn't even fun anymore. So occasionally I like looking at a conspiracy theory. I personally don't believe most of them unless there's significant evidence of of something like that, of something occurring. For example, the 9/11 conspiracy theories. Now, Colin's going to take the wheel on this episode for the most part, because I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, or I don't know a lot about them. I know a few. But, there's a conspiracy theory that the planes for 9/11 were fake, and they were actually just photoshopped in, and there were no ever planes, they were just bombs. Now, I don't necessarily believe that. I think there were enough eyewitnesses to claim that, to, prove that there were planes. But what do you think about that, Colin?
See, that's definitely one of the ones that I try to stay away from. It's interesting to think about, but it's a touchy subject for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I genuinely just believe the given story. Not given story, that sounds bad, but just the story that it was two planes, buildings came down. End of discussion for me. But you can believe what you want. There's a million different things that could be said about it. So many articles to read through that I'm just going to say this right now, that I did very loose research for this video. I mean, I only have a few things written down, so I'm going to kind of wing anything else that we talk about here.
And
so
this might be
take that in mind.
Yeah, this might be a lot of us just talking out of our ass, but I think that's what a lot of conspiracy theories are. I think
at least we are willing to admit it.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of conspiracy theories are just made because people are uncomfortable with tragedy, so they create other explanations to create either more comfort or more scandals around it. Because there's again with the 9/11 thing, people I guess weren't comfortable with the idea that planes could just fly into buildings and create such a monstrosity. So they were like, well, what if there were no planes and just bombs? And I think that's how that just came up. But
there's also questions of how the buildings came down. They fell basically flat, and people say oh, how can a plane bring down a building like that? Now, I'm no architectural expert or anything. I have no idea. Like I said, I just take it at face value. It happened 20 years ago. What are you gonna do now? Honestly. So,
well, sorry, go ahead.
Is there anything you want to talk about first? Any interesting things that you research?
Well, the one case that I am very passionate about, well, not passionate, that's a weird word, that's not the right word, but interested in, is the O.J. Simpson case. Now, obviously, Colin wants me to be careful talking about this, because, there's a bunch of weird intricacies and everything like that. But I was thinking about it. Now, Colin, first, do you think he did it? Just a baseline opinion. What do you think?
That is a good question. See, we've talked about this plenty of times before, and at this point, I've come to the conclusion that if he did do it, he was pretty ballsy with it. He wrote a book about if I did do it. The only thing at this point that leads me to believe that there was something other than what had happened was the amount of I can't think of the right word, but wrongness in the documentation. Yes, evidence collecting. There were numerous times where things didn't go by as protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me to believe that there was something more to this case,
Yeah.
but who really knows at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And I think now all the secrets for it are lost with his passing.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think he's most likely guilty. I'm the one thing I don't know. I know I am almost positive, in my opinion, that he was at least involved. In some capacity, he was involved in the death. Whether he actually was the one to, kill them, I'm not sure. No one will ever know anything for sure except for him and the people who passed, which was Nicole Brown Simpson and oh god, hold on, let me research
I
the.
don't remember his name.
It was
This is pretty bad.
yeah, that's horrible. Hold on.
Like we said, we're not experts at this stuff. We're just fresh out of high school idiots, just
Yeah,
trying to make a talk show, I guess.
Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. I knew it was something Goldman, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I definitely think he was involved in some degree, but do you think it makes him more likely to be innocent or guilty? The fact that he constantly made sort of jokes about the death or about the murders and the trials, and the fact that he wrote a book about whether he like about what he would have done if he did it. Do you think that makes him actually seem less guilty because it was so out there, or do you think he it just solidifies that he was insane and did do it? What do you think?
I think I I keep saying it, but I think with what he did makes me believe he was more innocent
Mm.
only because he was pushing to be so out there and like basically almost admitting that he was a psychopath. There was that clip of him walking into a hotel room going
Yeah, that
pretending
was
to stab somebody.
yeah.
And I think like if you are a serial killer, like well, I guess there was only 2 deaths, but that's still serial killer. If you're a killer, usually I've seen that they're not super out there. Like they try and stay to themselves. They're not like going out there saying, "Oh yeah, I did it," or "If I did do it, I would have done this." I mean, I don't really know. There could have been other people that have done that before that are confirmed to be killers. But generally, I think someone to be that ballsy and talk so much about it leads me to believe that he was innocent. But you could also turn it around and say, he was just bragging about it and, wanting to be out there.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we'll never know for sure. I think he did it, and I think he was a vicious murderer, but we won't know. And all that we do know is that Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were killed, and that is just horrible.
Yes. And all respect to everyone passing in this case and all other cases we may talk about.
Yeah, but I don't know. The whole situation was unfortunate or fucked up. I should say that's more of the correct wording. Like everything about it just was horrible. Whether he did do it or didn't, still people died. So at the end of the day, we should try to more remember them instead of remember the asshole who may or may not have killed them. Because even if he didn't, he's still a prick. He was an abusive asshole. He mocked their deaths after. So I don't know. All disrespect to O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, but it's actually a lot of athletes or a lot of football players or a lot of them do really fucked up shit. You realize like domestic abuse, like violence, and it's like I don't know, man. It's messed up that these people are getting paid more than your essential workers, but that's a topic for another day.
Oh yeah, you could talk about stuff like that for years and never get to a conclusion on it. All right, well, a case that I'm very passionate about, the case of DB Cooper / Dan Cooper. Mm-hmm. Now, what I've found is that the name DB Cooper came from a news article getting misinformation and calling him DB Cooper, when in reality on his plane ticket was Dan Cooper. Mm-hmm. Now, those of you that don't know this, in November 24th, 1971, a man went dressed in basically all black, suit, tie. He had sunglasses, slick black hair, boarded a plane. I don't remember the airline. think it was leaving from Oregon and flying to Washington State. And so he got on the plane, he had a briefcase, and he told a stewardess that he had a bomb and he wanted $200,000 in, I think it was negotiable American currency, which was something that was a big topic because that led people to believe maybe he was foreign, he wasn't from the States. And that led to him being like, some people said he was from Canada, others, other places, whatever. But so he boarded this plane, had a briefcase with him, and showed a stewardess, Tina something, I don't remember her name. And so he asked for that and 4 parachutes that some people say he did that, or it was just the circumstances that happened that people thought he was taking hostages. So that made them more careful about this scenario and made sure that he got what he wanted. And so they landed the plane, I can't remember where, and he let all the passengers go. He got the money and the parachutes. And then it was the pilots and one of the stewardesses in the cockpit. They told him this type of plane had like a small stairwell that would come out from the back of the plane. And they told him how it would work. And so they took back off and flying somewhere over Oregon, Washington, that area. They flew over, and this was like a dark, kind of stormy night. So like visibility was low, and they all got into the cockpit except for Dan Cooper. And then sometime over the flight, he jumped out from the stairwell and has never been seen since.
Interesting case. I've read a little bit about this, not too much, but okay, here's the question, because a lot of people think he could have died because wasn't the weather kind of poor at the time?
Yes, the weather was very poor. It was, November, so cold weather. And supposedly I saw somewhere that there was a fighter jet or two following the plane at the time to see if they could see where he went, and they never saw him. I don't know how true that is. I heard that once before on a YouTube video about this. I've watched so much on this case. This is like one of my favorite cases. But supposedly they never saw him. And the only evidence found on the plane was his cigarette butts, his tie, and some money washed up years later at a beach near a bar. And funny enough, it was Tina Bar, no relation to the stewardess on the plane. It was just a funny coincidence. But some of the currency found was from the money that they gave to him during that night. But his tie has a lot of scrutiny behind it because
it's worth noting it was a clip-on tie, not a regular tie. Yeah, I thought that was
yes. But supposedly they found chemicals on it that traced to either a rail yard or plane engineering. So some people thought maybe he was a disgruntled worker taking revenge on the airline. But I'm pretty sure the tie disappeared a few years after the case, or maybe even a few months. I don't remember. But the tie disappeared, and they could never reanalyze it or anything. But that's pretty much what I have for this case. And they've never found him. They searched the forest. People have been looking for this man for 50 years, and there are some suspects. I don't remember any of their names. There was one man that did pass away a few years ago that a lot of people thought was DB Cooper, but he always never said anything, or I don't remember everything, but basically he denied it to his death. So at this point, it's hard to say whether or not there'll ever be any more evidence found. And as of now, it's an unsolved case.
You see, here's my thing. You plan out a whole plane heist, you go through all of this, you put on a nice suit, but you put on a clip-on tie. You go through all the trouble of planning a plane heist and stealing money, but you don't know how to tie a necktie.
I mean, some guys just can't do it. you know?
I mean, I guess, but like, I feel like if you can't tie your own tie, then you should not be going on a plane heist. I feel like there's a rite of passage there. You know,
I like
heist.
how this is the point that you're taking.
I mean, no wonder the fucking tie disappeared. They're probably like, who the fuck wants to keep a clip-on tie around? They probably just tossed it. I mean, that's any respect I could have in his criminal activities of pulling off a heist with no one harmed. I could respect that to a degree. Pulling off a heist, not harming anyone, maybe
Oh,
threatening
yeah.
to, but not harming anyone could be a notable thing. However, the clip-on tie just completely throws me off. Like, if you're gonna do something, do it correctly. Follow 100% into it. Like, don't just half-ass your attire. Like, your attire could be the one thing they remember you by. DB Cooper, they remember him, a suit-wearing guy who was kind of funny-looking, but he had a clip-on tie. Like, if he would have had a regular tie, then who knows? He could have been even more infamous than he already is. But
Yeah, well, outside of your crazy ramblings, a lot of people actually find him as kind of a hero. Like they celebrate him every year.
why is that?
Because like he did all this, and like you said, he didn't harm anybody. He loosely threatened a plane of people, yes, but he never harmed anybody. He
Didn't he
did
threaten them with a
simply.
bomb?
Well, a lot of people saying, maybe there was nothing, or like it was just a fake bomb. All the Sirius saw was like a few cylinders that like looked somewhat like a bomb.
Yeah.
You can never be too sure. And this was also in the 70s, so like you could smoke on an airplane and it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, the good old days.
So,
Right.
and he stole the money. He got what he wanted, and he disappeared with little to no trace, and has yet to be found since. Sure, he could be somewhere lying in a forest, dead for 50 years, or he could have escaped and lived out his life to the fullest. And that's the dream I like to follow.
I think he's dead. I think with the weather and the fact that, from what I read, he did not seem to be like an experienced. Like, I'm curious if anyone actually saw him like jump out of the plane and saw if he was like an experienced parachute person.
There was no one that ever saw him jump. They didn't know for sure when he jumped out of the plane. They only ever felt like a bit of turbulence.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said that was when he did, but like they don't even know the exact area. They only know like a large chunk of where he was when he jumped.
Okay.
So like there was never any significant pinpoint position, but people do say that he might have had some previous parachuting, like paratroopers experience, military maybe, because he knew how to use the parachutes that he was given.
So he knows how to use a parachute. He knows how to be like an airborne soldier. Has probably combat experience. Has enough experience to perhaps place a bomb in a briefcase, but can't tie a necktie. Is that what you're saying?
I think you're being caught up on the wrong details here.
I don't think I am. I think the necktie really speaks to who he was as a person. I don't think he was like some experienced heistman, if you will. I think he was some guy who got his suit, wanted some money, lied about having a bomb, put on a fake necktie, and just got the money. And then I think he's dead. I think he jumped out of that plane in shitty weather and landed somewhere and just died. And I don't know. That's just what I think. Could it be 100% inaccurate? Absolutely. I could be wrong about every single thing I just said, except for the necktie stuff.
Maybe the necktie was a distraction to show how, everybody thought he'd be unprofessional, but really this is a criminal mastermind who knows exactly what he's doing.
I mean, maybe. I don't know, maybe. Did he have, I bet he had, like, cheap loafers, too, or perhaps.
Yeah, he did have loafers.
Of course he did. I bet they were I bet he probably had, like, I don't know. They were probably brown and lame and from Payless or something. But
I don't know. And I don't think we'll ever really know what happened to him.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Pink Panther bank robbers?
Oh, yes, I have.
I don't remember much about that case, but the idea of like people putting on funny wigs to distract people from them robbing them is pretty interesting. Dare I say a little bit nifty, but
yeah.
That's just me. Now, what other conspiracy theories have you written down?
What else? Well, not really conspiracy theories, just overall mysteries. But another one that I've always been fascinated about, the Roanoke colony.
Oh, that one's a good one.
Uh, Once again, for those that don't know, this is the colony in North Carolina, which I was confused about because there's Roanoke, Virginia, but there was also the colony in North Carolina, like modern day North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
This was somewhere in the 1500s. There was about 120 people living here, and the story is I don't remember the main guy. Man, I did not do enough research for this,
Wasn't it something
but
like something white? I believe.
I think it was John White, but
Yeah.
I feel like that's too obvious, so I don't remember. Also, I'm pretty sure that's the guy from Pocahontas. But anyway, I mean, oh wait, that was John Smith. Never mind. But anyway, so this man, he left the colony to go back to England, I believe, for I think it was like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came back, everyone was gone.
Yeah.
There was no sign of like an attack because this was back when Native American tribes were prevalent. There was no sign of attack, no sign of like struggle or anything. They just like up and left.
Yeah.
And the only ever trace found was the word Croatoan written on like a wooden post. And I also saw somewhere that there was also CRO, which probably was leading to Croatoan on a tree nearby the colony. So, and I believe that was the name of one of the tribes nearby. Some people say it was a enemy tribe of the Croatoan that was trying to pin it on them. Some say it was the Croatoans. And then there's even the more wilder theories that like aliens abducted the colony.
There's
and
always
like
aliens with stuff like this. When in doubt, there's aliens to try to explain things.
I mean, it's the easiest scapegoat, mysterious happenstance, aliens.
Of course,
right
yeah.
there.
Yeah. I'm surprised there weren't any alien conspiracies with the O.J. Simpson case. I'm shocked there weren't any. But
I mean, there wasn't really any space. There was actually for DB Cooper, there was some theories that there was aliens involved.
Of course,
like he got abducted by aliens, which I find hilarious. But
I mean, that would be really funny. You pull off a bank heist, or I mean, not a bank heist, a plane heist with a clip-on necktie, and then you jump out of the plane and get abducted by aliens. That is actually pretty cool.
There was actually an episode of the Loki series where he was DB Cooper, and he was like he used the Bifrost to escape, which is pretty funny, and I loved that little reference. Like, I'm kind of a fanboy with the whole DB Cooper thing.
Oh yeah.
So that was very funny to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But back to the Roanoke colony.
Yeah.
What are some things that you think happened, if you have any?
Okay, now I think we've talked about this before, and I thought there was a theory that they got cannibalized or killed by like a tribe. And that's likely what I think. I think it's as simple as that. They all moved in like a herd and end up getting killed by like the Native Americans. I don't know about the cannibalization. I don't maybe that isn't what happened. I don't know, but I definitely think they all died. I don't. Do you think there was anything? Sorry, go ahead.
I have heard one theory that they were assimilated into another colony, actually, like either of the colonies of America or a native tribe, that they were assimilated into another one, and they just moved, and like they were all perfectly fine. It's just the main coordinators of the colony, I guess, like John White or whatever his name is.
I'm pretty sure it was John White.
I'm positive it was, but I don't remember, and I don't want to like speak 100% on it. But anyway, so there is those theories that like they just kind of moved and didn't tell anybody. I mean, you can't really tell anybody. It was in the 1500s. They didn't have cell phones back then.
Yeah.
So, but the Croatoan always interests me. Like, it's very cryptic. Like, just leaving the one word message.
Well, here's a good question. Here's a good question for like the future. If we talk about any of these things, do you believe in like the paranormal? And I'm not just talking about like ghosts and stuff. I mean like otherworldly things such as like cryptids or I don't know, just more outlandish theories. Do you tend to believe in those things, or do you more lean
I
towards
I
logical?
try to believe in those things. Now I'm not super hardcore in it. I just like reading about it. Everybody talks about Bigfoot. The Sasquatch. The famous photo of him like looking back with his arms moved, like that's very famous, and that like footage of him, I think, is like the most credible, maybe not credible, but like most believable source of
Yeah,
cryptids. Um, and then there's the whole, Loch Ness monster. Like people thought it was just a piece of wood, but then they found like beluga whales or something in Loch Ness a few years ago. So like it's
yeah.
almost believable.
I
And then ghosts. Oh, sorry.
no, no, you go, you go.
Okay. For ghosts, I tend to believe in it. I don't necessarily know why it happens. There's always like the unfinished business or something like that. The only time that I ever personally felt that I experienced something paranormal, and I've talked about this before, I was in my basement
Mm,
of my house. I think I was the only one home. So there's no one else home. I'm a simple row home. So like I'm right next door to people. But I heard someone playing guitar. Now, this was my brother's room in the basement, so he had his guitars like hanging up on the wall,
mm-hmm.
and I thought it was very strange. Like I didn't touch them. I was, doing something. I forget what I was doing in the basement. Um, and I heard guitar playing like very faintly, and I looked around. There's nobody here, and it sounded like it was coming from a wall that, I'm trying to think. Okay, that's my other neighbor, and I don't think she has guitars. I don't know. I've never been in her basement, but I don't think she was playing guitar at the time.
Yeah,
Um, but it was very interesting to hear like just silent guitar. There's no TVs on in the house, so like I don't know what it was. And to this day, I've just believed that like it probably was a ghost. Like
yeah,
just jamming out. And
damn
I
it out.
haven't heard him since. I've lived down here for a few years myself and haven't seen anything other paranormal like that.
Mm.
There was one time though that the lights started flickering, and I got really confused. And I was about to go upstairs, but I felt something like it felt like someone had their hand on my shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
but it also felt like a pinch, like it was like pressing on my hand on my shoulder.
Yeah,
And I was, like got really creeped out by it. But I went up and found out that they were doing electrical work down the street, so that was probably the lights. That's what was going on there.
yeah,
And what I assumed was what I felt like was someone holding my shoulder was probably just my shirt got caught on something and like kind of like pulled it.
yeah.
And I might have had like a pimple or something that just like, I guess, increased the like pressure on it that like felt like someone was holding my
Mm-hmm.
shoulder. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's the only paranormal experience I've personally experienced. Is there anything that you might have?
Here's the thing. When it comes to like ghosts and stuff, I am definitely a skeptic. I don't believe in them. I want them to be real because I think the idea of ghosts is really cool. However, I just don't believe in them like that. Like, I think most things have a logical explanation. However, I think there are some things definitely that, like, no matter how hard you look at them or how many different angles, they're just any logical explanation doesn't really make sense. And could that be ghosts? Yeah. I mean, I don't know for sure. No one will ever know for sure until they die. But I do still think even the things that are the hardest to explain can be summed up by just weird coincidences and just everything like that. Because the world is a weird ass place, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
Fact is very much stranger than fiction sometimes.
yeah. Like anything involving lights, I immediately write off as easily could be just an electrical issue. Like it's very easy to have issues like that where like the lights do this and that. Now I mean if they're
Yeah,
like every time you do this specific thing they go out, or every time this or that, then okay, yeah, I could see that. The guitar thing is interesting though. The only explanation I can come up with for that is maybe like you said, maybe one of your neighbors has a guitar. That's the only really
yeah.
logical explanation. Other
I
than
mean,
that,
there's there's plenty of logical explanations for it. It's just my side of wanting to believe that I choose to accept that it was a ghost. For
Yeah,
all
but
I
I
know,
feel like. Sorry, go ahead.
someone a few doors down could have been playing guitar. Someone could have had a TV on had a guitar playing. Like it was just all I heard was guitar. It wasn't like I heard speaking or anything. It was simply guitar. Like I couldn't think of a specific song it was playing. It just sounded like guitar chords
Yeah.
playing. And to this day, I've always been interested by it, and like I want to see more about it because there's a feeling that some people think of it as like being scared, but
Yeah.
the feeling that I felt in that moment was honestly pretty cool. Like thinking there was something otherworldly near me was like an interesting experience.
Yeah. I hope ghosts are real. Like, I can doubt all I want and people can believe all they want, but, like, at the end of the day, no one knows for sure. And I think that's what's interesting about the subject. I I don't know. If there are ghosts, if there's ever 100% proof of a ghost, which do you think there will ever be 100% proof of a ghost without any doubt? Like, without a shadow of a doubt, there's a ghost. Or do you
I
think it's
think,
always just going to be debated?
see, now with the age of technology, it's become so good, AI even, like, you can fake just about anything nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
there are videos of, like, Cthulhu rising and, like, these horrifying sounds. What was that one cryptid with, like, the telephone pole head?
Siren
Siren
Head?
Head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that was so easily faked. And, I mean, a lot of it did look pretty bad, but there are some that like genuinely look real that you have to think like, wait, is this real?
Yeah.
So in this day and age, it's a lot harder to find real from the fake.
Mm.
So I take every video that I see, like usually I think it's fake. Like you see like a baby dinosaur running through the grass, like
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 is probably fake.
Yeah,
But
like,
you never know.
a lot of these videos that I've seen are very realistic and very like easy to like trick you. And like you said, the more technology improves, the more likely any evidence of anything paranormal or anything in general is just going to be written off as fake. And I mean, rightfully so to some degree, because a lot of things are fake. You can't always believe
Yeah.
everything you see. But it is a shame that we'll likely never know 100% until we die. Um, so, that's a comforting thought, I guess. But back to Roanoke. So we went off track a little bit.
I mean, that's good to go off track and just
Yeah,
talk about whatever we want. We don't need a whole structure for things.
yeah. What do you think
But
happened?
yeah,
Oh, sorry. Wait.
I
If you hear
no, you're good.
my cat is currently meowing, so I'll have to go let him out of the room. I will be right back.
Okay. Um. Hello everybody. I'm by myself for a change here. But yeah, Roanoke. I would say it's hard to say what for sure what happened. A group of over 100 people disappearing. You have no idea what happened to these people, and this happened, 500 years ago. There's no evidence to be found, I'm sure. That being
All
said, if any evidence was found, I would love to see it because that would be awesome. But
I
yeah,
apologize.
any other things?
I apologize for the interruptions. Sheldon will probably be a frequent guest on this podcast because he likes coming into the room, and then when he's shut in the room, he cries to get out. He's never quite satisfied. Sheldon is my cat. He's pretty cool. But I think a lot of the big thing people get stuck on with the Roanoke case is that there was no evidence of these people. When they there was no evidence that they had been there. Isn't that correct? That there was just like they just disappeared without a trace.
Yeah,
Well,
like
I mean, what trace did they really want? Because I feel like back in the day, people packed up really well and didn't leave much evidence that they were there.
I mean, yeah, but it's just odd to have a settled colony of people. Like you've got a whole town going, and all of a sudden, like everyone leaves, and it's just a ghost town. Like
Yeah.
there's no windows broke. Well, I don't know. They have like a lot of windows, but like windows broken. Doors smashed, arrows on the ground, like something to indicate some kind of attack from some other neighboring group. Bullet holes from like muskets or whatever. I don't know if they had muskets that far
Yeah,
ago.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But we'll never know, and it's just kind of fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there are people that are way more knowledgeable with this stuff than us.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
but we just like to talk about it. It's fun.
Well, what's your other conspiracy theory or mystery you had for us?
So my last thing that I've written down here, but we can talk about more, is the Philadelphia experiment. Do
I
you know
don't.
anything
I
about
don't think
this?
I know about that one. No.
Yeah, so this one is pretty cool. It's so the ship was called the USS Eldridge. It was a
Mm-hmm.
Navy destroyer. This was in 1943, and in Philadelphia, there's supposedly this experiment to turn a U.S. Destroyer, like battleship,
Mm-hmm.
and make it disappear and teleport.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
the story is that this ship was in Philadelphia, and it like went invisible and disappeared, and suddenly showed up in P- to Norfolk, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how far exactly Philadelphia, PA is. So like a few states away, just instantly disappeared and teleported 3 states away. That's pretty incredible
That
technology,
that
if you ask
is
me.
that's Jesus. Okay, I can't believe I
Yeah,
haven't heard of this shit before.
yeah.
Shit.
I the first time I actually found out about this was through a video game. It had a reference in it of a disappearing ship, and
Mm-hmm.
I googled it and like found this whole thing, and I've seen a few people talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of discrepancies with it. Like people said, like it was just 2 different ships, like it was nothing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the government, there's no telling what type of technology we have at any time. Like the U-2 bomber was hidden for years in Area 51,
Mm-hmm.
and then was finally declassified because it was no longer necessary to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
So who's to say we don't still have this technology and it did really happen? And that's the cool part to me.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I can't believe I haven't heard. I've heard of the classic, Roswell. Isn't that what it was called? The
Yeah,
Area 51 thing.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I have not heard of the Philadelphia experiment. That is, I think I might research that more on my own after this. Um,
Yeah.
that okay. So
It's,
that, what do you think happened? You think it was aliens, alien technology?
I think I heard somewhere that it was alien technology. I don't like the whole alien craze kind of happened in like the 50s, 60s, like later on.
Mm,
So this being in the 40s is kind of interesting. I don't know if there was any other alien things that happened before like the 50s,
yeah.
but um, I don't know if I necessarily say I believe in it. Um, I guess we're kind of just fence straddlers with this whole
Yeah.
conversation because we don't know whether or not to believe either side. Screw it. I'll say I believe in it just because of how insane it is that like you teleport this massive. Like I'm not talking about like a little fishing boat. I'm talking about a Navy destroyer that's I don't know how
Jesus.
big, how heavy, and it just up and disappeared and turned up whole 3 states away.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
That Jesus, that's I mean, okay, it was military, so like maybe they just moved it secretly and didn't want anyone knowing. And like I'm sure the military probably has ways to do that. I don't know, but like either way, that's interesting though.
One thing I did just think about, like, is maybe this was a propaganda ploy,
Mm,
like, to try and like trick other governments into thinking like we had this technology.
yeah.
I have no idea. I
Yeah.
don't. I very loosely researched this one because I had heard about it before, but I wanted to like just get some written information
Yeah.
down, just to be a little bit more clerical. But we could talk about it another day.
Of course.
Um, and it's a very interesting theory that, or not theory, like just mystery overall.
Yeah.
That like we had technology to literally make an entire boat, first of all, invisible, which if we had that technology at all, that would be insane. Like
Yeah.
we have enough technology to make planes virtually invisible, but still physically you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
But like with radar and stuff, you can't see it.
Yeah.
But a boat would be a lot harder to do that because you've got submarines, you've got other boats. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to see them. I did see ones that like I forget which military did it, but they did like dress up small military boat as like a rock. Like
Hmm.
it was basically like a floating island, or not floating island, but like an island that was like it had leaves all over it, and rock features on it, and then they actually used it to sneak around. I don't remember where it was or how real this is,
Yeah.
but it was kind of like a camouflage for a boat. Now that I think is pretty funny.
That that's probably like Russia or something. Russians are pretty crazy with that type of stuff. But
Yeah.
here is a good question. Obviously, I think by the stuff you said, we know the answer. But do you believe in aliens?
I want to believe in aliens. I think there's a lot of things that have happened that lead to the idea of aliens. The whole like Roswell, New Mexico thing. Like, there's people like it got declassified years later that like it wasn't a weather balloon. It was something to do with the military, but it wasn't like aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could look at that either side you want. Like it's
Yeah.
either the fact that like the government wants to hide it from other governments, that way they can't get their secrets. Like with the whole U-2 bomber,
Yeah.
not the band, by the way. Um, but others say that like no, the government's hiding aliens from us, and there's so many different things. The one character out of everything aliens that leaves me both extremely intrigued and skeptical is Bob Lazar.
Could you
Do
say
you
that
know
again?
this man? Bob Lazar.
All right. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
So this guy, he worked at Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what years. It was like in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of had a bit of like a Jeffrey Dahmer look. Like he had the glasses, the
Wait,
hair.
okay. I think I know who you're talking. I think I remember
Yeah.
reading about that. The guy who pretty much worked at Area 51 and then gave some secrets and then feared for his life, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So originally, like he talked. Apparently, this guy built like a rocket car in his garage, which is already crazy. Like this guy's pretty cool. But so he went to work at Area 51 for a while. And what he said was he worked in a compartment or a department
Mm-hmm.
that worked on the engine or the propulsion of this vehicle. That I don't remember what the name he called it, but it was basically your average UFO saucer type vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that like they were so compartmentalized that like he only ever saw the engine and like the ship itself, and other people worked on like the shielding for it, or the controls for it, whatever. But he actually witnessed seeing this vehicle flying, and he knew like the times that they took it out. Then he actually took a couple friends with the camera and went out near the base to watch it, and he showed them that. But so years later, he defected from the base and went on the news. Originally, he went as like anonymous, like didn't want to give away his information, but eventually did come out out of fear for his life because he wanted people to know who he was,
Yeah.
what he did. So
That
he
takes some
went on the
balls of
news.
steel. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and the thing that he was so nervous about was that I think it was his girlfriend at the time. Like, the government was so secure with him that like, and with everyone else that worked on this project, that they had like transcriptions of his phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
and he was worried he was going to lose his job because there was something that came up that sounded like spousal dispute,
Yeah.
which to them that like discouraged working, so they didn't want that. So if he was having some like argument with his spouse, then he wasn't allowed to work there. There's a whole story that I think it was a documentary. It was like Bob Lazar, UFOs and aliens. It was really good, and I recommend anyone who's willing to watch it. But the thing with Bob Lazar is that he's one of the few like whistleblowers that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like eliminated.
Yeah, completely.
Like
Like you mean like discredited or killed? Which one?
either or,
Yeah.
the government, take people out. There's people that like suddenly had a heart attack after like disclosing information. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get too controversial, but like the guys for the Boeing recently, like the few whistleblowers like the last year died out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So the thing with Bob Lazar is that like he's never been killed off, but he's disclosed so much information. And one thing that makes me think he's very credible is he described like this hand scanner that was used on the base,
Yeah.
and like 20 years later it came out and it was real. So he wasn't just like BSing this whole thing. He was telling the truth, at least some things.
Oh,
Um,
I just realized I looked up Bob Lazar and I share his birthday. That's pretty cool.
really,
Yeah, and
that's
he
interesting.
looks like Stephen King kinda.
Huh.
That is
Huh.
uncanny how much him and Stephen King look alike. Anyway, yeah, but
That's,
that guy, yeah, he's clearly got balls of steel because I would not have the guts to do anything like that. Like that's insane.
yeah.
I'd probably just
And
cry myself to sleep every night or move to Antarctica, whichever one.
but it is interesting to me. And one thought that I did have is maybe that he was a whole propaganda campaign
Mm,
to like make people think Area 51 was all about like alien extraterrestrial vehicles when in reality they were working on something else that was their own.
mm,
Like maybe the aliens is the cover up and everything else is real.
yeah,
And Bob Lazar came out as like an actor. Now, I'm not discrediting him because I really love his story, but it was a thought I had one day that like, maybe he was the one telling all the lies and like kind of this like face to the fake things going on.
mm,
And really, Area 51 has nothing to do with aliens. Aliens don't exist. And really, they are just working on something super top secret, which I mean, they are anyway, but
yeah.
even more top secret than what we think is going on.
Either way, the whole Area 51 thing was sketchy. I think it was obviously some military thing that we have no idea or have
Yeah.
like I don't know. I think it's the stuff they get up to that we don't know about is probably extremely heinous, but I don't want to know about
Yeah,
it because I don't want to get
the
killed.
the earlier years of Area 51, and I just recently watched a documentary on it, was very simple. Like it was only meant to be a temporary base to work on advanced aircraft technology.
Mm,
Like that's all it really was for initially, at least the general story.
yeah.
So, but it was originally just meant to like test out specific aircraft capabilities and creating the U-2 bomber,
Mm,
and other aircraft like that.
yeah.
But more recently, I would say there's definitely some shady things going on there that we might never know. But I'm sure in like another 20, 30 years, they'll come out with new declassified information that like they just pulled out, this super light speed aircraft thing that like shoots through space or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. With aliens, I think like hmm, I think aliens are real. Do I think that they've necessarily visited Earth as many times as like many people claim? Like, oh, everyone claims they were abducted by aliens. I don't believe that. I think they probably could have visited once or twice, but in general, I think they don't want anything to do with us. I think they exist, but I don't really think they give two shits about us. Like, that's just my
Yeah,
opinion.
I'm not sure. Like a lot of people look at it as like we're ants to an advanced civilization,
Yeah,
but there are still scientists on our planet that study creatures like ants so much because we want to know like how capable they are of doing things like creating these advanced tunnels. Like if we are the ants to another civilization, then there are still some, I guess, characters in their civilization that want to look at us and study us the way that we look at our creatures.
yeah. I don't know.
So I think, but there could also be, people look at aliens a million different ways. Some think they're conquerors of every solar system they touch and, just want to destroy us or enslave us or whatever. Some people think that we can make peace with them. I personally love that option because
Yeah,
I don't want to be enslaved.
yeah, exactly.
But if it happens, it happens,
Yeah.
Uh, I guess we'll never know until the day they take over.
There's some book. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. It's called hold on.
Is it the Greaves?
No, it's something else.
Because it's like one of the names of aliens, the Greys,
Oh,
little
okay. The
gray
book
men are tall.
it's a book, I believe. It's called All Tomorrows: The Future of Humanity. I
Huh.
think there's a video on YouTube. Yeah, there is a video that explains it. I don't remember it detail for detail, but it's basically about like one day Earth gets visited by aliens, they do this to us, then this happens, we evolve into this, then this and this. It's really interesting. I think you'd like it. Um
Huh.
it's it's kind of popular. Like it's hard to describe. I would just say um watch a video that summarizes it, and that will pretty much get you your base idea of it. I definitely think it's worth the time though. Trying to find like an example of one to talk about.
Mm-mm.
If I remember correctly, one of like the things that humans were like basically turned into due to encounters with an alien was like squares of flesh, where that they were still alive but that their consciousness was transferred to like a square of like flesh. I think that's
Huh.
a yeah, it's pretty gross at some points, but I think you'd like it. And
See,
then
that kind of reminds me of a dream I had a long time ago.
ooh,
And
let's talk about
we've
that.
talked about talking about dreams before,
Mm,
but this is just something simple to talk about. I was like very young. I must have been like 7, maybe 9. I don't know. But and I want to clarify that this was before I ever saw like Independence Day or like any super big alien movie. Like I knew about aliens, but I didn't really understand it or like know much about them. But there was one thing that was really interesting about Independence Day that I'll get to. But
mm,
so I had this dream where like I was learning the uh, the steps for an alien civilization to take over the Earth, and it was like literally step by step. Like first, you'll start seeing clouds that like look really oddly shaped,
yeah.
and like as I was learning these steps, I was seeing them in time. And so there's like random clouds that looked something like a U.S. saucer or whatever. Um, and then the next was like people would start acting strange, like people you'd see every day. People would have like different eye colors, and like they've had like yellow and green or whatever.
Mm,
Like that alone, I'd already be like, okay, something's wrong here.
yeah.
But and then like that was the step that like they're taking over other people basically. Like they're either controlling them or taking like their skin, like very Men in Black, like if you've seen that movie, great movie.
Yes, of course.
Um, or and then like after that, construction workers would start digging like holes, like perfectly circular holes, just straight down.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with that is there is actually a bit in Independence Day, at least like the newer one, I like the 2018 one, I don't know, that I watched way longer after I had this dream, that like the aliens were digging a hole in Earth
Mm-hmm.
that was very similar to the ones that I saw in my dream. And I was like, that's really weird that like I saw that in my dream, but I never saw those movies before. And I was like, that's really interesting. And they're both about aliens, obviously.
Yeah.
So it kind of concerned me a little bit that like maybe what I saw wasn't a dream and it was like a vision.
Yeah, that's
But
yeah, that sounds like an interesting dream. Now let me like my dreams are weird, but normally they're not as cool as that. Like at least that sounds like cool. Like, you get to wake up and you're like, damn, I was in an action adventure for like a
I
dream. That's
mean, I woke up and I think I was sweating bullets. Like I was
oh.
terrified.
Well, I'd be
But
happy because like I've had like my dreams are weird, but they mostly revolve around people dying or some depressing stuff. Well, the dream
well,
I had,
it gets incredibly more depressing after that.
yeah,
So after like digging the holes, like I think what they were looking for was either the Earth's core or like certain ores in the ground, like I don't know, or like things that we've never found. I don't know.
mm,
I don't know what aliens are up to in the ground. But after that, it was like basically the end of the world, taking over, fire everywhere, alien spaceships crashing down, shooting everything, whatever, and like basically everyone dying.
yeah,
So maybe if I did have a dream and I'm some kind of alien prophet,
perhaps.
be warned. If you see alien-shaped clouds, call your nearest conspiracy theorist and get a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, Oh god, I think that don't the tinfoil hats come from like the movie Signs, or did that just pop? I can't talk.
I have no idea. For all I know, it could have just been a tinfoil campaign.
Perhaps. Have you seen the movie Signs?
Uh, it sounds familiar, but I don't think I have.
It has Joaquin Phoenix in it. I love Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh,
Watch it.
he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
But yeah, let me just real quick say the dream. Maybe next episode we should talk about dreams because that could be fun. But the dream I had last night, I already told Colin about it, but I'll tell you guys as well. It was pretty interesting. So, if I remember it all correctly, I was at some type of concert for school. Why I was at a concert for school, I don't know. I graduated, and also I never did any of that type of stuff in school. But I don't know. I think Colin might have been there. Who knows? But we were singing, I think, and then the concert ended. And I was like, well, okay, I need a ride now. And my parents weren't there for some reason. So I was kind of like, well, this sucks. And then out of the crowd walks Martin Scorsese. And I'm like, okay. And I like, hey, oh my God, Martin Scorsese, I love your movies. And he's like, okay, cool, thank you. I'm like, can I get a ride? And he's like, well, sure. I'm like, well, this is amazing. So I'm happy. We're in the car, for some reason, he drives us to his house. Now, alarm bells should have started ringing at this point. Like, I asked for a ride to my house, but we're at his house. But I'm like, it's Martin Scorsese. I'm honored. I don't care if I'm at his house and probably in danger. Like, so I waltz on.
Great survival skill.
Yeah, I practically tap dance into that house. I'm so excited. And for some reason, the first time at a person's house, I immediately go to their computer. Why? I don't know. And I open it up, and I start looking at what they were looking at. And what the last thing that they were on was some weird, like, rinky-dink website. Like, something you'd imagine you'd find, like, after searching for hours in the deepest parts of the internet.
Dark web.
Yeah, borderline dark web. And the whole purpose of the website was to be able to change how you look to look like Martin Scorsese. And I'm like...
It's very specific.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay. And then I realize, I'm like, wait, this person who just took me to their house is not actually Martin Scorsese. And I'm like, oh my God, who is this person? And then I wake up, and then I'm like, I honestly really wanted to see the end of that dream and see what happened, because that was honestly a cool premise for like a horror movie.
I've had dreams like that where I'm like, this could be totally turned into a horror movie.
Yeah. Why I was dreaming I was in Martin Scorsese's house, I have no idea. He's one of my favorite directors. Maybe that's why. But it was bizarre. I woke up and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I just got into a car with a stranger and went to their house and was none and didn't care at all. I mean, I hope I don't have any dreams like that in the future. I definitely would prefer to have a dream about Leonardo DiCaprio, though. I mean, he's incredible. If he took me to his house, I'd gladly go. But
sounds deeply concerning.
As long as there were armed security there. I hear he's a little bit weird, but oh well.
Isn't everybody?
Yeah. No. Actually, on a serious note, I hear he doesn't date women over 25, which is concerning. Yeah. Like, I don't endorse that. He's an excellent actor and has great movies. I don't endorse that, though. That's disturbing. So, yeah.
I try and separate the art from the artist, because unless they're just like a horrible person. I mean, even then, like, dating someone under 25, as long as they're over 18, I think it's fine. Like, it's definitely, I don't like the age gap there, but it's your life.
Especially considering he's, one of the most famous actors in the world. Like, and he's like in his 40s, going on 50, I think.
What are you gonna do? It's his life, not mine. I don't really care.
Separating the art from the artist is an interesting conversation, because you should be able to do that, but also who the artist is a part of their art. So can you entirely neglect that? I don't know. That's why I can't listen to Michael Jackson anymore.
Oh my God. All right, let's not get involved in that conversation.
Yeah.
How about we move back to the conspiracy theory?
Okay. Well,
is there any others? Huh?
Oh no, go ahead.
Is there any others that you have in mind? Like anything you want to talk about, mysteries or anything?
None that I can think of. The boy in the box mystery, I think that was solved recently, was it?
I believe so. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. But
But do you want to give like a rundown for people that don't know it?
I don't remember that much about it. Like for some reason, like okay, so if I remember correctly, there was. I mean, the only thing I remember is that there was a box that was found and there was a dead boy inside of it. Don't really
I
remember too
mean,
much besides that, but
it's pretty
yeah.
self-explanatory.
Now, the information we've been giving, is it the most factual, hard cut information? No, but we
No,
also
not at all.
don't claim to be an information, source. We just talk
Yeah,
about
no.
stuff we like talking about. So don't ever rely on us for unless we say we researched something 100%. Don't rely on us for clear cut information.
Even then, don't rely on us, even if we say that we've
Yeah,
researched everything,
go to
because
facebook.com for real information. I'm
yeah.
kidding. Kidding.
If you want to know something yourself, research it yourself. We highly recommend that because
Yeah,
that's the best way to understand things more. And to some people, it's fun to
yeah,
research stuff.
yeah.
We really, I mean, I personally go off like documentaries and YouTube videos.
Mm,
There are other people that take hours spending reading books. I'm not much of a book person, so
yeah.
I won't be doing that. But to each their own. And just think of us as like just kind of like a midnight conversation, a bunch of guys that just talk about random stuff that comes to
Yeah.
mind. That's really what we are here.
Or the stupid uncles at family gatherings that just chat shit and really are kind of lame deep down. Kind
Yeah,
of like that.
we're not
We're
lame.
not lame. We're just a little bit tipsy sometimes. Not that's a joke. We don't condone drinking of any kind. Only drink water and maybe
Yes,
Gatorade because that has good electrolytes in
wonderfully said.
it.
Can't wait to get
Okay,
the
what
sponsorship.
the hell was that? That was a gulp if I've ever heard one. Christ.
I'm drinking water. What do you want me
Okay,
to do?
good. Oh, okay, good.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of something else I could talk about real quick.
We're coming up on
Um,
an hour, so if there's anything quick,
oh,
yeah,
no, I can't think of anything.
yeah, I can't. We could make a part
Oh,
two to the. So, go ahead.
oh, no, I just remembered the Denver airport.
Mm,
I think I've talked with you about this before, but this thing has like the weirdest stuff around it. To start, there's a statue in front of it. It's called the Blue Devil because it's a giant, or no, Blue Lucifer. Lucifer, that's what it
yeah.
was. Because it's this big blue, like stallion horse,
Mm,
with like red eyes. So like people like connected it to like Lucifer, and it's blue, so Lucifer.
yeah.
Great naming there. I mean, I can't do any better, but apparently when this statue was being made, it fell on the artist that was
Jesus
making it and killed him.
Christ.
Yeah, already great start to this. But this airport has so many conspiracies behind it. There's like supposed like tunnels like all around it. Like it's got like a secret bunker.
Mm,
People say a lot of it's like I think it was one of the presidents like 50 years ago or something. Whenever the airport was created, found it on like they built a bunker to like keep political or like government people in case of like uh, an attack or like war or whatever.
mm,
Um, and then it had like tunnels to get people safely to areas of the airport without like being concealed or unconcealed or whatever.
yeah.
Um, and then there's murals like all over the airport on the inside, and there's like gargoyles, like just stuff you wouldn't normally think is in an airport. And the interesting thing with the murals is there's like depictions of like some people say it's like a Nazi officer
Mm,
with like a gas mask and a giant sword, and he's like surrounded by these children, like he's like killing people. There's fire, and then one of them he's in like a coffin surrounded by all the children and people,
yeah.
and like it's just really eerie to look at. Like I'm sure there's a deep message behind it, but like without any context it looks really creepy.
Yeah. I think.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
There you go.
I think a cool episode to do would be like creepy art pieces that have weird history behind them. I think that
Ooh,
would
that
be
would be a
very
good
cool.
one.
Yeah, maybe next episode
Uh,
we could do that.
yeah, I have a few in mind that we could do that
All
for.
right.
And also with the airport, like there's also like there's Freemason logo on it, like
Mm,
the I think it's a sextant or like a compass, and then the eye in the middle. I think it has an eye. I don't know. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Illuminati, but they also have like connections to the Illuminati. Some people say like they are the Illuminati. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, but there's a lot of interesting things within that airport that like I mean it's insane what
Yeah.
is found there sometimes.
Mm,
But
yeah.
I definitely recommend people researching that one,
Oh yeah.
the Denver airport,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of conspiracies behind it.
Mm. And if there's anything like anyone out there that have heard of these things we've talked about and want to give us more information, then we're all ears. Where we clearly don't know everything, so if you want to explain
Yes,
something to us, then let us know. Um, but yeah, I think this has been a good episode. We're coming up
yeah,
on an hour, so damn. Okay, time flies by when you're chatting shit about conspiracy theories, I guess. So yeah, maybe next week. We're not quite sure what we're gonna do for next week when it comes to like the topic. We might just randomly talk about nonsense if we can't figure anything out. I think it
yeah.
could be cool to talk about dreams or maybe paintings or art pieces that are like could be cursed or something. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
or maybe we do a combination. Like we do a little bit of dreams, a little bit
yeah,
of paintings,
yeah.
whatever you want.
That'd be cool. Because like today we did some dreams and some aliens, some conspiracy theories. So, all right, this has been episode 2 of the Lemon and Soap Project. If you liked what you saw, then I guess tune in next week for whatever we talk about. But yeah, that's been it. So goodbye. All right.
Goodbye.